I'm waiting on Trisha's decision about whether or not she'll allow me to go see her again. I don't know how long I can wait. She's really special to me, but life is lonely.
Rick is trying to do everything in his power to convince Trisha that he's changed and he's ready to be the man that she needs him to be. I'm even willing to be the father to the baby that you're expecting, he says. But how can anyone trust a word that this guy says? I mean, spoiler alert, for all of his tears and all of his claims that he loved Trisha that much. Just wait until you hear how quickly he moved on. It's a new record even for him. So, given that last episode Trisha revealed that Rick isn't the father of her baby, we join them in this episode as Trisha gets asked the question on everyone's lips. Who is the father? It's not your ex, is it?
It's someone that I met 2 months after Rick on vacation and work trip. He's Australian.
Now, Trisha isn't seeing this guy anymore. They're no longer dating, but they are still in touch for the sake of the baby. I can only imagine how Rick must feel about that. Remember, Rick is a guy that got crazy jealous when Trisha dared to even mention or speak about her ex. If somehow she and Rick were to get back together, how much hope do you hold that he'll be able to contain that jealousy towards the father of her child? I'm not particularly confident that he would be able to. But what about Rick and his dating life? How quickly did he move on from Trisha? Well, brace yourselves, because it wasn't weeks or months. It was hours. Yeah, hours.
It was not the night of the day that she broke up with me. It was the next night.
Oh my God.
Damn, Rick knocking him down, bruh.
What an absolute douchebag. All those tears, all that proclamation of love, how he needed Trisha in his life, was just complete BS, wasn't it? Now, granted, just to be completely clear here, he and Trisha weren't together when he got with this other woman. Trisha had dumped him. She said she never wanted to see him again after discovering that he was messaging his ex, the ex that he cheated on her with. So I guess, technically, he was free to do whatever he wanted, right? But it just makes a complete mockery of everything he says. How can you claim to love someone and yet move on so quickly? Well, get this. Rick has a justification and an excuse for that as well. I couldn't resist this other woman, he says. I just had to go and talk to her.
Before I could even go inside the bar, I saw a beautiful young lady eating chicken.
An excuse so poor, even Scammer Daniel can't help but laugh. Rick explains that rather than mope about in his hotel room alone after Trisha dumped him, he went out to a bar and before he even stepped foot inside, he saw a woman eating chicken and it just looked and smelt so tempting. He just had to go over there and talk to her. I mean, it's wild. Again, if you were a woman watching this, how could you ever trust this guy to be loyal? You can't trust him as far as you can throw him. You wouldn't even trust him to go to the shops alone without getting tempted, would you? So what exactly happened after he asked this woman for a bite of her food? How quickly did things progress from there?
And how soon did you two have sex?
That night.
Oh no.
Jeez.
It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? I mean, it would have been bad enough if he'd just met the lady, but maybe they'd waited a few nights before getting intimate. But no, he actually slept with her there and then, that same night. Poor Trisha, and can you imagine how she must feel learning this? I mean, clearly at the time she was oblivious to this, but she still felt something for Rick. She was still hoping that it might work out with him. That's why she went to the airport to see him, to say goodbye to him. And all that while, having just slept with another woman, Rick was begging Trish to give him another chance, promising that they could make it work. Now, the cast actually call Rick out on this. You should have told Trisha that you'd already moved on, they tell him, and Trisha agrees.
Totally right, Rick. You should have been honest to me like, oh, I already have someone, Trish. You shouldn't have given me, and you even kissed me at the airport.
Now, get this. If you think all of this was bad so far, it gets even worse. This chicken lady, she didn't end up just being a one-night stand. Rick had a 5-month relationship with her while still talking to Trish. Yeah, in other words, he did exactly the same thing to this other lady as he did with Trisha. Only this time Trisha was the ex that he was still talking to and trying to get back with. Who knows if he was even talking to the other ex on top of that as well. Wouldn't put it past him. Now, for what it's worth, if you believe him, which I don't for a second, we've already gathered that, Rick claims that he was at least honest with this other woman about Trisha, but I wonder if she'd agree with him about that.
Who here thinks Rick moves on really fast? Let me see a show of hands.
Rick's honesty.
I do.
Look, although he seems to be able to see the error of his ways, which is something at least, rather than laughing about it and seeing it as funny, he should be putting in the effort to try and fix it and not do it anymore. I mean, giggling about this problematic behaviour doesn't fill anyone with confidence that he's going to change, does it? And when Annalyn asks him why he does that, why he's always making excuses and brushing things off, Rick responds by saying it's because he has a fear of being alone. But I'd suggest, Rick, there's not much chance of that happening if you jump from one relationship to the next within 24 hours, mate. Now, to Rick's response, Annalyn says, and I've got a massive issue with this, but Annalyn says, if you're scared to be alone, Rick, you should get married then.
I'm trying to find my wife, and I thought I found her in Trish.
Oh.
You lied to her. She could have been your wife. You know?
She wanted to be.
Yeah, telling a guy with a history of failed marriages that he should get married again without first addressing his behaviour is terrible advice from Annalyn, right? But the facts are, Trisha forgave Rick over and over again, and he still kept on going back to his ex. Like, he can't now act like it's her fault that things didn't work out between them. Like, the failure of their relationship is very much on him, entirely on him. And Rick actually admits it. He admits he made a big mistake. But that wasn't the only mistake he made. Remember the whole splash pad that he brought with him for his intimate moments with Trisha? Well, just when you thought that couldn't get any grosser, it does.
Like, did you take it when you see your other friends? Oh, Rick.
I mean, we reuse sheets, don't we? We put them in the
Sorry, no, it's not the same as bed sheets. I think that's disgusting, don't you? Like, Trisha actually says that Rick used it with his ex, the girl from Colombia. So it was already used when he laid it out for Trisha to use as well. Sorry, no, that's gross. I mean, I'd almost go as far as to say it adds insult to injury that it's exactly the same thing he used while he was cheating on her. But talking of the whole cheating incident with his ex, right, one thing that everyone wants to clarify is the timeline. When exactly did Rick go to Colombia? Well, it turns out Rick booked the trip during the 5 days that Trisha wasn't speaking to him, but he went later. Like, at the time that he went to Colombia, his relationship with Trish was very much back on.
Were you back to talking with Trish?
We were back to talking.
But you still went on the trip?
Yes, exactly. We were talking back.
That makes the betrayal so much worse. It wasn't just an instinctive heat of the moment, I'm annoyed at Trisha so I'm going to make her pay kind of decision. It was one that he had time to mull over, reflect on, get back together with Trisha, and then betray her anyway. Now, Rick tries to spin the same old bullshit about how it was before he ever met Trisha in person. It wasn't so bad, he said, because we hadn't even slept together at that point yet. But Trisha calls him out on that. Like, even after we'd met, Rick, she says, you still didn't change. You were still talking to your ex. And while Rick doesn't really have an excuse for that, he does still desperately try to convince everyone that he has changed now. I haven't spoken to that lady, my ex, in months, he maintains, and I still want a future with Trish and her baby.
I'm waiting on Trisha's decision about whether or not she'll allow me to go see her again.
Now, somewhat worryingly, Trisha, while she doesn't accept, also doesn't shut it down. Like, she leaves the door open for Rick. She says she wants to see how he'll act before making any promises about the future. But I'd suggest her priority, her only consideration right now, should be on her pregnancy, her birth and her child, not Rick. Don't give that guy any more bandwidth, any more energy. Don't let him take energy away that you should be giving your child. Focus on you and your kid, Trisha, please. And thankfully, although she does still admit that she has feelings for Rick, thankfully, Trisha does seem to have her priorities right.
I'm not ready to put him in my life. I'm very excited to be a mom and I'm really happy and I don't want anyone to change how I feel right now.
Good for her. Like, it does kind of feel like Trish has grown up and matured a bit since filming for the show. She seems calmer and a lot less desperate for Rick's love and attention. I think motherhood will be great for her, and we all remember how desperate she was to be a mum. Now, with the tell-all now coming to an end, before he leaves the studio, Rick is asked whether he still believes he has a shot with Trisha, and he says he does. I just hope she'll give me the chance to beg for her forgiveness in person, he says. But that being the case, while he waits for that chance to beg in person, what will he be doing in the meantime?
Is there anybody else in your life right now?
No, there's someone else in my life.
Promise.
Why you gotta look at me that way?
He's not exactly super convincing, is he? This is, after all, the same guy that couldn't wait 5 days before booking a flight back to his ex, or the guy that jumped into another relationship, into another woman's bed, literally a day after breaking up with Trish. Like, do you really expect anyone to believe that he's just going to wait around to see whether or not she'll ever let him back in her and her kid's life? Sorry, but I'm not buying it. Especially as directly afterwards, he admits he has actually been given the green light by Trisha to find someone else. She's encouraged me to move on, he says, and I'm starting to consider it.
I don't know how long I can wait. She's really special to me, but life is lonely.
There you go. That right there, the very last words that he ever says on this show, might just be the only true thing he's ever said. I don't know how long I can wait. Yeah, that's true. You're not gonna wait. You don't have it in you to prove that you've changed, because you haven't. I guarantee this is gonna be an everlasting cycle for Rick. In 1 year, 2 years, even 10 years time, he will still be jumping around from woman to woman. I just hope that by then, Trish has moved on and she isn't one of those women.